Hello and welcome to Embraer TV. This is a first for Embraer and indeed the aviation industry as a whole itself. We are live here at the Paris 2017 Air Show. Over the next 3 days we're going to be bringing you all the best bits of the show, inclusive of exclusive interviews with many of the executives, pilots, engineers, customers, you name it, the lot. We've also got a roving reporter, Fernando Tiberini, who'll be on the ground here at the show giving you behind the scenes information, going into the aircraft themselves, speaking to the customers, and also later he's going virtual reality seeking in a mock-up of the E2 cabin and cockpit. So let's hand over now to Fernando to introduce himself.
Señoras y señores, bem-vindos. Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2017 Paris Air Show. My name is Fernando Tiberini. I'm here at Embraer TV on a beautiful, sunny Monday morning here at Le Bourget, just outside of Paris. We're at the 52nd edition of the world's oldest and most prestigious aircraft exposition, the Salon International de l'Aéronautique et de l'Espace, as it's called in French. Now, there's lots to enjoy here at Embraer. We're going to be interviewing the winners of the ERJ Hop Quiz. We're going to be speaking to pilots. We're going to experience the all-new Embraer's Fleetsmart E2 Profit Hunter firsthand, both through virtual reality and by walking through the cabin mock-up. Then we're going to find out more about Embraer's role in defense with the KC-390 transporter. And, of course, we're going to be watching exciting flight displays of both the E195-E2 and the KC-390 and get some reactions from the people attending the show. So don't forget to tune in later for all these exciting features and interviews and plenty more.
And don't forget, guys, this is very much your show as well. We are interactive on social media, Twitter, using the hashtag Embraer TV. You can send us in questions and comments for anything that you want answered. We'll do our best to get back to you and read some of them out live on air. Now, my first guest of the day is the President and CEO of Commercial Aviation at Embraer, John Slattery, and I spoke to him a little earlier on. John, thanks very much for joining us. What are your expectations here at Paris?
Well, this is going to be a very special year for us. We have our three new platforms here, the E2, the 195 E2, which is the largest aircraft Embraer has ever built, the largest aircraft ever built in Latin America. We have our KC-390, which is the second largest aircraft Embraer has ever built, an amazing machine. And we also have the Legacy 450 from our executive jet business. So the three business units are represented here. And of course we have our new business unit, Services and Support, led by Johann Bordais. So we've four business units here. We're here in strength to meet our customers this year. It's our 40th year here, and it's going to be very important. We have, I guess, across the business units, there's over 150 meetings set up for everyone that's here, and we're led by Paolo, so we have lots of meetings, lots of customers, and hopefully lots of deals by the end of the show.
Hope so. And in the 40 years that Embraer have been coming to Paris, I'm right in saying this is the biggest presence you've ever had?
For sure. I mean, even if we think about the size of our physical presence here, the size of our chalet, I think, is 3 or 4 times bigger than what it was 2 years ago at Le Bourget, because the show here is every other year, of course. So, but having the aircraft with us that we have this year, frankly, it's something, in a very humble way, it's something for us to be very proud of. As a Brazilian company. I mean, just the sheer size of these aircraft that we have. And in fact, as I sit here looking at you, the aircraft that's right here over your shoulder is the 145, an aircraft where we're celebrating 20 years of service. Our original regional jet, 50-seater regional jet. This is an aircraft operated by HOP, part of the Air France group. So, and that again speaks to our legacy, if you like, in the marketplace, and still very much in revenue generating service with airlines right around the world. So we're approaching, I guess, a half a century in terms of that tacit knowledge, that capabilities that we've built up around the world. And it feels now that we're at a point of inflection for a new level of trajectory of growth for Embraer. And that's exciting for all the team that's here.
So John, you've got the exciting new E2 generation of jets, and you've painted them in really rather unusual livery, but it looks striking. What's that all about? So
the aircraft, we've called it the Profit Hunter. The aircraft that we have here is the 195 E2. So just to give you a flavour why we believe this is a Profit Hunter. We've increased the range of this aircraft from the original E1 by another 600 nautical miles, so from 2,000 now to 2,600. We've increased the size of the aircraft by 3 rows, so the economics for the airplane are drastically improved. The operating cost per trip or per seat is radically reduced relative to the E1. That's thanks to the GTF engines, that's thanks to the high aspect ratio wings that we have, and the overall performance of the aircraft will generate significant profits for the airlines. We believe it's a profit hunter. We believe that it's somewhat like the Golden Eagle. In the Northern Hemisphere, a very successful predator in the skies, chasing its prey. And we believe that that's what airlines are looking for as they go forward, complementing their larger narrow-body fleets with smaller aircraft. So chasing profitability, right-sizing the aircraft and identifying the right size of the aircraft to generate those extra profits.
Sure. And aside from the physical improvements that you've made to the aeroplane, you've got a whole new Fleetsmart philosophy that you're applying to it as well.
Well, we have solutions for airlines today and tomorrow. That's how I think about it. Over your shoulder, we were talking about the 145 earlier. So customers that really want to start operations with, let's say, pre-owned 145s or want to complement larger operations, we have that smaller 50-seat aircraft. If you want to get into the current generation, the 190, whether it's new or pre-owned from our lessor partners or directly from Embraer, that availability is capable to be presented to you today as a solution. But if you want the newest technology as we cadence into the future, and if you're thinking about maintenance costs and you're thinking about the price of oil and where that's going over the course of the next decade, the E2 family is probably the aircraft that you have. One interesting point is the cockpit between the E1 and the E2, there's commonality there. So there's no high-level device training. There's no simulator required to go from the E1 to the E2. So it's very comfortable now for airlines to operate the 145, the E1, and also the E2 family. And I think in time, maybe later this year or next year, we're going to be able to point to specific examples where airlines will operate the full patina of the solution that Embraer presents.
So when customers buy into Embraer, they're not just buying a jet, they're buying a lifelong support network as much as they are.
Yeah, that's a great question, because closing a transaction, there's full of celebrations from the OEM and of course from either our airline or our lessor partners. But our key to success, or certainly one of the keys to success at Embraer, is not just that we've developed the best fit technology for our customers, but it's our reputation for after-sales support. And frankly, we've crystallized that in a single business unit, services and support, led by our new president of that unit, Johann Bordais. It's that capability that we have and that reputation for excellence which manifests itself in extraordinarily high completion rates, dispatch reliability rates, and that's what airlines are buying. If you get a cheap aircraft from somebody, there's nothing cheap about an aircraft if it's parked on the ground, because you can't get support if you need a spare part. We don't have that at Embraer. We have a reputation for one of the highest schedule and dispatch reliability rates in the world, for aircraft that are some of the highest daily cycle aircraft in the world. So we're very proud of that, and that is one of our secrets of success at Embraer, is services and support. And I think I'd make one other point on that. The culture of Embraer is one of humility. Our brand is on the side of that airplane. It'll be on the side of that airplane for 25, maybe in some cases 30 years. We're very proud of the airplanes, and we take it as a personal sense of ownership. Even though we've sold the airplane, it's our airplane for life. So the manifest of our success in that airplane will be the schedule completion rate and the dispatch reliability. That's what the customers are looking for, in addition to a low cost of operation.
Okay. How important is it for the E2 jet amongst the people of Embraer? How proud are they of it as a jet?
You know, it's amazing. When we rolled out the 195 E2 just a number of months ago down in San Jose dos Campos, well, it's the largest aircraft we've ever built in Brazil, largest aircraft ever built on the continent. And we decided, normally when you're rolling out an aircraft like that, you might invite dignitaries from the government or your key suppliers or key customers. At Embraer, when we rolled this aircraft out, we decided to roll it out just to our employees in San Jose. So we invited over 10,000 people on a sunny afternoon, and we rolled out the airplane and presented it to them. It's our people that make us fly. It's our number one value. So the emotion around this aircraft is deep. It's deep because the E-Jet, the E2 family, will be the backbone of Embraer for the next number of decades. And therefore, people are committed to the success of the aircraft. They're committed because their sons and daughters that will come after them and hopefully join Embraer, they will because of the success of the E2. So people are committed in a way that I believe probably other companies don't feel that same level of commitment. And the best way to taste that, I would invite any of our potential airline customers and of course our existing customers to come to San Jose dos Campos and feel the employees as they're making the aircraft. Get the sense of what we're about. Because our culture, I believe, is a unique proposition that Embraer has. And we want to keep inviting people to come and join the Embraer family, both employees and, of course, new operators around the world.
And if I may, can we talk about the passengers? What's the experience that the passengers that are boarding the new E2 generation going to experience over the current E-Jets?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, the current aircraft, let's start with that. When we look at organizations like Skytrax, when they monitor or survey different airlines around the world and they ask them to compare the passenger experience on the E-Jets and all of the aircraft in their fleet, from the biggest super wide bodies down to a small turboprop. Traditionally and consistently, the E-Jet scores number one on the current airplane. Why? Because that sense of space that you have on an E-Jet is just larger than even most wide bodies. So, in addition to that, with the E2, every customer can now bring a rolly bag, and put it into the bin, wheels first. Every single customer on board. In the seat, when you're sitting down, there's no bars under the seat. You can sit and you can put an extra bag under the seat if you wish. There's nothing banging your shoes. It's just a lot more comfortable. And you know what? There's no middle seat on either aisle. So everybody on the E-Jet platform either has an aisle or a window seat. There's no middle seat. Our customers love that.
That's brilliant. John, thank you very much indeed for talking us for the now. We'll speak to you, I'm sure, many times again over the next few days and wish every success from your point of view at the show here. We've got a chance now to have a look at the Prophet Hunter itself as it was being painted in this beautiful eagle livery. What a beautiful aeroplane that is. We'll be speaking to the artist, Clodoaldo Quintana, later on in the show. But now, we're lucky enough to be joined live in the studio by Rodrigo Silva, the Vice President of Marketing for Embraer. Rodrigo, lovely to have you with us.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Now then, Rodrigo, you're in charge of marketing, and I understand that there's a whole new marketing campaign being revealed with the new jet.
Yeah, that's the Fleetsmart campaign. And I'm glad that it's being beautifully launched, and it looks really beautiful in our chalet, in our airplanes, in our new website. So everything is running perfect.
So Rodrigo, the Fleetsmart is a whole new concept, isn't it? It's a new package that you're using to sell the aeroplane. So can you tell us a little bit about what it is?
Yeah, I would say that is a new way to present to our customers, but actually it really reflects the way we are. The Fleetsmart is the end, the final step of a brand campaign that started maybe 2 years ago, right? And like any brand project, we started interviewing customers to ask them, what they think about Embraer, what they recognize on us as being different from the other manufacturers. And the first thing that came out was that they see really Embraer taking on the challenge that they face on their business, right, on their daily basis. So different from other manufacturers that just go there and try to push whatever product they have. They recognize a trace on Embraer DNA, which is first to understand what are the customer needs, right, and then develop solutions. And no challenge is big enough for us. The company was born based on a group of people that took the challenge to develop the aeronautical industry in Brazil. You can imagine, 50 years ago, you can imagine how difficult that was. And but the same spirit we can see in the people today, right? The same spirit of take on the challenge. I see that every day in our meetings. Sometimes I'm participating in a meeting with employees or even with customers, and someone would say, it's impossible that Embraer will do that, or someone inside the group may say, we can never do that. No, that's just what it takes for the Embraer spirit to come, from inside the group and the people to take the challenge and develop that solution. So the first thing we noticed from this project was this recognition of Embraer embracing the challenge on ourselves and also on customer challenges. And the second thing was to really understand what are the challenges before we develop solutions. So it's not about Embraer, according to customers, it's not about being the one to develop the biggest aircraft. That's not Embraer. Is not the one to introduce the ultimate new technology into the airplanes. We do develop new technologies, but that's not what we are known for. We are not more famous from, right? What they recognize is that we develop the best solution, the most optimized, and that comes from understanding better their customers, and that's where the smart comes from. So that's the origin of the Fleetsmart company.
It's nice it's refreshing actually to see a company that's so passionate about what they sell and the aeroplane itself. Rodrigo, could you tell us about the design smart, the business smart, and the experience smart aspect?
Yeah, that's how the Fleetsmart would be divided into
those subcategorized.
Yeah, in those three main pillars. So on the design smart, as I mentioned before, so it's about really studying not what is the ultimate technology that is available, but simply what is the issue that we have, what is the specification, and what is the best solution to address that specification. So it could be a solution that we have developed before in previous airplanes, a simple solution, or could be a new technology, or could be what is most of the cases that I believe we are best at, is to be a combination of simple solutions with new technologies to deliver the best ultimate solution, let's say. And I can give you an example. So composites, for instance, right? So one of our competitors introduced composite in the airplane as a means to reduce aircraft weight. So they wanted to do a very aerodynamic efficient wing, but at the same time to have a very long wing, reducing the weight, right? So they introduced composite. We said, okay, we want to do an even more efficient wing, and we want to do with even less weight. And we are able to do that using aluminum, advanced aluminum alloys, so therefore reducing the risk of introducing composites, having a wing that is even more efficient from an aerodynamic standpoint, at the same time lighter than their design. So I believe that's just one example. And the 145 back in 20 years ago, we have in display here.
It's
also
behind us right here.
Yeah, so it was another example where We used the back to basics design, very simple approach, just to develop a workhorse that would, have utilization of 10, 11 flights per day and with very high reliability. So that's, I believe, an example of design smart. Then we have the second pillar, which is the business smart. And then it's not only about the characteristics of the airplane, but how it fits on the customer business. And the biggest example I can give you is actually the E-Jets, the first generation. We developed from scratch that airplane, and at that time the market knew Embraer just for designing regional aircraft. So they would expect us to design a tiny little cabin, just like the other regional aircraft available in the market. But what we did was actually something revolutionary, right? We designed a cabin that was actually more comfortable than a narrow body aircraft, and all of a sudden it was not used only for regional operations, but by mainline carriers to complement a larger aircraft. They didn't have the problem sometimes they face with the regional aircraft, where they have the passengers that are used to a higher level of comfort and they enter to a tighter cabin, right? And the passenger would complain. With the E-Jets, for the first time, they had the right size of the aircraft with the right comfort. So this is not about a specific design technology, but it's about to understand the market, read what are the market trends, and better position the aircraft. So this is the business smart, and the third pillar is the smart experience, and that pillar I would say is maybe one of my favorite, because two great examples. First is the passenger experience. So in many airlines that we have contact that have our aircraft and other aircraft even bigger, they report in their market surveys, in their customer satisfaction surveys, the E-Jets to rank above the narrow bodies constantly. So the E-Jets was something really that came, like 15 years ago to be the benchmark in the market in terms of passenger cabin. The second example of smart experience is actually in terms of customer support. And I'll tell you an interesting story. Once we are negotiating with a customer, right, a contract, and it was a customer that had our previous aircraft, right, actually one generation before. And he was saying that, what is good about Embraer is that, different from your competitors, I don't need to negotiate a contract that is this thick to be sure that you will give the right support when the aircraft is in operation. I'm sure Embraer is always, right, standing behind its products, and whatever it's needed, your team will go the extra mile. And that's what Embraer team is known. Is really in customer support, we are second to none. The spirit of being committed to the success of the operation of the customer is something unique.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Rodrigo, for that fascinating insight and explanation of the whole Fleetsmart philosophy. Now then, an aeroplane taking its first flight is an epic occasion, and we were lucky enough earlier this year to see the Profit Hunter, the E195 E2 generation jet, make that first flight. Wow, I tell you, there's a lovely saying in aviation, and that is if an aeroplane looks right, generally it is right, and there aren't many aeroplanes that look much better than that. That was a beautiful, beautiful aeroplane, and what an occasion, absolutely faultless. But now looking from the external shots of the Profit Hunter, our reporter Fernando's got the opportunity to go virtual reality inside the cabin of the E195 E2 itself.
Welcome back. We are here at the E190 E2 virtual reality experience, and I'm going to try it out myself. The E2 is built on a heritage of 50 years of innovation. It is a Fleetsmart aircraft which has been designed to help airlines to sustain profitability in a world of change and opportunity. It sets a new standard in efficiency and economics, which is why it's called the Profit Hunter. I can't wait to try out the VR myself. Like everyone else, I once dreamed of becoming a pilot. Now let's see how that works. And there we go.
Welcome to the new Fleetsmart E190 E2 Profit Hunter.
Ah, there it is. The E190 E2 Profit Hunter.
Press the OK button to get on board.
There we go. Aha. That's great. So we have the electronic flight bag here on the left, yoke in the middle, pre-flight checklist, initiate the engine starting process. I think that was good, yeah. Oh, this is great. I can see my hands. And we're moving. Great.
When you're ready, pull the yoke towards you.
Ooh. There we go. Ah, this is amazing. All right. We're airborne.
Fantastic! You're in the air and flying the E190 E2, a true profit hunter.
This is great. I may change career now. I think after you move the body as well, but it feels better. You can see the airport. Extend the landing gear.
500. Approaching minimums. Minimums. 200.
Pull the yoke towards you to put the nose up and have a soft landing.
There we go.
50.
And
40. 30. 20. 10.
Now, pull the throttle lever to reverse position.
pull the throttle down to reverse position all the way back. Oh, we landed already. That was smooth. I didn't even realize it.
Brilliant landing. We hope you've enjoyed your Embraer E190 E2 experience. Please take care when leaving the VR platform.
Wow. Ooh, that was a great experience. So that was the E190 E2 VR experience. And we'll be back later with more from the Paris Air Show here at Embraer TV.
That's pretty impressive. I think I'm going to have a go on that myself over lunch. But now we're going from virtual reality straight back to reality. We were joined earlier by Johann Bordais, who's the President and CEO of Support and Services within Embraer. Johann, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Arthur. Good to be here. Beautiful weather.
Oh, stunning, isn't it?
Beautiful airplane.
Yeah,
That's,
couldn't have asked for a better backdrop than this.
I know. Look at this. Perfect.
So, Johann, could you please start by telling us what your role is as the President of Support and Services?
Well, if I got to summarize, it's basically make the customer happy. That's what we do every day. Two things: ensure the availability of the airplanes and also the operating cost. It needs to be as competitive as possible. That's what we do every day.
And in a way, one of your jobs, your job at Embraer is one of the most important, because Embraer as a company regard themselves, I'm going to put my foot in my mouth for saying that probably, but it's true, because Embraer regard themselves as a champion of the customer.
I like you, Arthur. I love it. I wish that Jackson and Michael and also John will hear this, right? And somehow I agree, and I cannot disagree. I've been in this company for 16 years. I've been doing customer support for the last 16 years. This is what I've been doing. And I tell you what, I think this is just part of it's a Brazilian company. It's got the Brazilian soul in a way that to serve the people. And it's in the DNA. If you go to Brazil, just on a personal vacation, you go to the shopping mall, and you go to a shop and you want to buy something, genuinely the people will come up to you, like, would you like some help? Would you like anything I can do for you? And it's not because they're going to get a commission, because sometimes they don't even get it. It's just because it's part of the DNA of the Brazilian people. And I think this is what Embraer has done. It's an international company with a Brazilian soul. And that's what the customer support and services has been for the last at least 20 years. And you're like, well, 20 years? We're a 47 years old company. Well, 20 years ago, that's when we went international. That's when we went global. When we had the Embraer 145 and we were presenting this beautiful, technically on paper airplane that everyone wanted at the time, they looked at the specs, they looked at the price, like, I like it. But I tell you what, I got a problem. I don't want to be supported 9,000 kilometers away from my operations. So you're going to have to invest massively in the customer support. I want my customer account managers, I want my material, I want my MROs, I want all those activities close to me. So if you want to sell to me, Embraer, 20 years ago, right, you're going to have to get some support.
Of course.
So that's what we thought at the time. Like, okay, well, I guess we don't have any choice. So where, the big boys, the others OEM were not thinking about this, we had to, for survival. And that's what makes a difference. We have this survival. That's how it started. That's what support started. Make our customers happy because it was genuine and because we had to survive. And it became a core business. It became a know-how that 20 years later, we decided on the 1st of January to turn it into a business unit, because it's a know-how, it's official, it's a core business, it's a fourth core business of Embraer, let's say.
The E2 is nicknamed the Profit Hunter. That's it. That's its name. And of course, an aircraft that sits on the ground, not flying, is not doing very well for a company's profits, and so therefore the service and support is incredibly important in maintaining the aircraft or flying as much as possible.
That's exactly it. It's two things. Again, the customer satisfaction, they will focus. Whether you're a big OEM, the other OEMs or the small ones, you're called Airbus, Boeing, or whatever, even on each segment, whether you're a military segment or you're on defense, security, or the executive or the commercial aviation, you're looking for two things at all time when you're a customer. Availability of the fleet. That's what you want. So it's schedule reliability, or it's like you have 9 Super Tucanos to operate. You always have to have 8 of them always available for takeoff and mission, right? And also something, when you get an executive jet, when you get this beautiful Legacy 450, or you want to go with the family, or you need to be, in New York, next morning, you got to be, having the plane just taken off whenever you need to. So availability, you have various ways to talk about availability, but at the end, it's just availability. That's what it is. Airplane needs to be available. And the maintenance cost, operational cost, it needs to be competitive, right? So those are the two things that we focus on, and that's what we do best.
And Johann, with the new E2 generation of jets, you're planning on launching an entirely new aftermarket support structure. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's got to do with with the big words that we've been hearing over the last years, the big data. We've been hearing a lot about the smart integration, and that's the truth. This is what has been happening over the years. In the past, we have been focusing on the OEM has been really good on the specific technical support, specific material support program on the limited scope, and that's where we've been investing. The rest was in the hands of the operators because they wanted to do it. It was good for them. But the more that you get into this data, you need to just transform this data in something that will just make something and it will add value to your operation. And as much as you can integrate the smart integration solution, the more you can predict the unpredictable. And that's what you want to do. This is exactly back to the availability. When you have an AOG, an aircraft on ground, it costs you money. You got to just relocate your off-board, let's say, the passengers. It's just not good at all. What's the role of the OEM? Kind of sit and wait, and as I know at the end of the month that the operator was not satisfied because he had so many aircraft on ground? Of course not. We have our share of responsibility. And how we can just tackle this, just make sure you put a bunch of sensors that tells you what's going on, the training of the machine, and basically it talks to you. And with the big data and the smart integration, you just integrate all those systems and just make sure that we can tell the operator what to do in the next 30 days, in the next 20 days. Watch out, your APU is actually just not going too well there. Probably in 300 hours, you'll have to replace it. So the advantage of this is that you replace it where and whenever you want, and not just when Murphy wants.
So it doesn't. The new systems don't just tell you when things have gone wrong. They'll tell you when they're on their way out
in the future, and that's exactly what we're looking at. And we developed this for Embraer on the E-Jet because you have to have the the technology for this, right? And for the last 13 years, we've been having, and we developed our own program, which is the AHEAD Pro. It's a prognostic system that gives you, and live when you fly, and now with the new trending, it gives you really the health of the airplane, not only just live, but also predicting it in the future.
And so the customers of the E2 generation of jets, then, are they going to feel a real difference to operating this airplane?
They do, and it all starts with the maturity of the airplane. Because that's one thing, it's like, well, how do you make the E2 better? There's one thing that we've done as the design partner, and the design partner is the customer. It's based on 15 million hours of E1 operation. I mean, you can imagine that all this, we called in all the customers, and we said, well, what can we improve? It's more than 1,000 requirements that we asked the customer that they actually give to us. They said, okay, I want you to have this improvement in the E2. I want to understand, if you don't do this, 60% of our E1 operators will be potentially E2 operators. You can imagine that when they're going to receive the E2, at least it needs to be as good as the E1, right? And if you look at the E1 on the fleet, we're 99.62% availability today. Do you think that the customers are going to expect less than this? Of course not. So we have a big challenge. Maturity at the entry into service is the key, and we've done this through the customer. He told us what to improve, right? We improved the system, whatever was not working so well on the E1, or maybe the vendors was not so agile in fixing it, then we replaced it. We made it better. So the customer as the design partner, we had the robustness also of the system that we changed, and also this maturity program that we've been on the customer support team. It's 100 people for the last 4 years that have been working dedicated to the E2, entering the service. So I can tell you the 99.0% after 12 months of operation that we are promising, they'll get it.
How is the way that customers and operators of the airplane communicate with you? How has that evolved?
Well, there's several of what we said, the contact points with a customer, right? We have it on a daily basis through our customer care center, right? And that's usually what the 65% or 70% of our customers actually elected to be on the AHEAD Pro that I was telling you on the E-Jets. And that's what they have the daily operation with their maintenance control center, right? So that's one way. So just make sure ensuring the fleet is available. On the more relationship basis, we have it's 2,500 people around the world dedicated to the business unit on the customer support side, and the front line do the relationship with the customer. So our key account managers, plus the tech rep, plus the spare parts representative, plus anyone that has contact with the customer ensures their relationship every day.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us, Johann.
Well, thank you very much, Arthur. Pleasure.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we need to take a break now for lunch, but make sure that over the lunch period you do get in touch. Use Twitter. I'll remind you of the hashtag, it's Embraer TV. We will try our best to reply to all of the comments and questions that you might have, but join us after lunch where we've got plenty more action right here live from Paris.